The painting on the wall by Betsy Fredenberg is a painting that she did upon looking around her home. It's called Forget Me Not, and it's a reflection of how she feels about the structure that's outside of her home. It's an old structure sitting aside Lake Superior, and she gets a lot of inspiration from it. The painting means a great deal to her beyond the visual interpretation she made. It talks about the lake shore, it talks about the pine trees, and it talks about the old structures and the old people who lived along the lake shore. She's tried to capture a little bit of history, a little bit of sentimentality, and a little bit of the visual. Things with us that have historical significance relating to the Art Center and its growth and the future.
This is the arts and crafts building belonging to the Red Cliff Banner League Chippewa Indians. It was really had in mind in the year of 1973, then up to dedicated on June 30th of 1975. And the building is a big asset to the tribe, where we can have our culture, the tribe's culture, be shown to the public. And it's one of the finest buildings of this area. It helps to show our cultures in beadwork and other stuff that's the Indian has known in years before. And yearly, the last 2 years ago, it's on a self-sustaining basis, and it's a tribute to the people of Red Cliff. And we like to have the buildings open on a 7-day week, and we urge all our visitors from other states to come and visit. It's free, and all our everything that goes with it, it's different cultures you can ask. And we expect it will be we're going to maintain it year-round proposition. And
we're sitting out here in the beautiful sunshine at Red Cliff Reservation, sitting at the doorstep to the new Arts and Crafts building. Talking with us today is going to be Alex Roy, one of the elders of the Red Cliff Indian Reservation. Today, the last sunshine of summer is starting to come upon us. autumn is arriving, the leaves are turning. We're sitting at Red Cliff Indian Reservation talking with Mr. Alex Roy. We're sitting at the entrance to the new Arts and Crafts building, dedicated in June of 1975. But before we go inside, we'd like Mr. Roy to talk with us about the history of Red Cliff in general, the building, whatever he remembers, just to talk in the warm sunshine here. Mr. Alex Roy.
I'm happy to talk with one of the young fry of our reservation, Walt Brissett. And as we sit here, we're looking over towards the lake. There's a rock there standing laying alongside the lake shore. At one time, it was the foundation for the Red Cliff sawmill. The Red Cliff sawmill to. Since that time, now it's covered up with a sun deck, we call it. You have the view of the Lake Superior, Bass Island, and so forth. We have a marina there. That's what you call that. Boats can tie up overnight, and we welcome all the people here. It's been a nice summer, and as Walt said a little while ago, autumn leaves are falling, and now, years on, after we'll be looking for the snow be fall upon us.
Red Cliff is about a little over 100 years old. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience as a former tribal council member and your different experiences about the relationships of Red Cliff as an Indian reservation to say the surrounding governments, the federal government, how that's come about? You've had a long history of being involved in political affairs with Red Cliff. You should share some of that with us.
Thank you, Walt. Before I go on any further, I'm the only survivor of the original Constitution bylaws that we adopted. It's a long story to tell you, but we've been on a self-government basis for a long time, and different acts on the now is favoring of self-determination, which I think we hardly endorse, and I think that by that means it's too complicated to tell to hear, but now we're on the verge of getting our judgment claims, and I hope that should be soon, because every Indian, I'm told, there are not very many old-timers living on this reservation, and we like to have that money, so I don't know what will happen.
It's been a long time coming, and I think due to people like you who have been persistent in sitting on the tribal councils, through the long meetings, the different travelings that you had to go through, in order to accomplish some of the things that are being accomplished today on different Indian reservations. I think it's a credit to the people when you can look toward leadership that enables things to be accomplished, like the Claims Commission, as you were talking about, like the facilities that we're sitting near right now. How different is it now today from that first tribal council that you sat on back in 1934, I believe it was? Is there any differences that you can share with us?
Yes, there is. When we started this tribal government, we didn't have no money, but transportation was poor, and little money that we did have, we could not handle the affairs. But I like to say this much: Red Cliff was the first reservation, first Red Cliff band was the first to adopt the Wheeler-Howard Act, which we call now the Indian Reorganization Act. That gave us the power to be under our own self-government. That was the best things that ever happened to any Indian nation, any tribe. And I'm glad I was a part of it. And still, I am. Last year I served on a council, but this year I'm kind of getting old now, and I'm kind of hard to get around a little bit, so I didn't run. what I advise, I've been saying that I'm vitally interested in this tribe, in this band, and I would recommend, I always have said that the youth of today are the chiefs of tomorrow. I've said that many times. I hope that you'll take this in consideration, but all you young guys are going now, and this way, another hand, on part of our constitution provides you could be a member now when you're 18 years to vote and all that. Now you have the rights, and I hope you all share that right like we have in years past.
You were groundbreaking, I guess, back at that time. There was a new way of governing the reservation with the Indian Reorganization Act. It was introduced, and it was relatively new to most of the Indian people because it was a new type of governing system. It's been with us now for about 40 years. I suspect that we're all pretty familiar with how to work with it, the rules and regulations, the Constitution and bylaws that are required. Do you think now it's something that in the future leaders of, say, Red Cliff or different other reservations, is it as fitting in 1976 to use the same type of structure as it was back in 1934?
Yes, Walter, there's a big difference. That time, we didn't have the facility that we have today, I say money-wise. It's Title VI, Title I, and all that stuff. It's a beneficial to the tribes if you're entitled to it. I know what it has been. But in our days, never had such a thing as that. Because this park you're sitting at now, we have nothing but the ravines. The shores were all lined up with slabs. And by somehow donations, that's how we started this park.
So maybe you think now then that the way that the tribal government is going and the monies that are available, do you think they're being used wisely?
Well, yes and no. I don't know, it seems like a project is set up 4 or 5 months. Eventually, I don't know if it was mismanaged, it's not run through proper, it runs through proper authorities, all right, but I don't know why. The jobs is allotted for 100,000, but it turns out it's not completed. Now I understand that this Title 10 probably will be done October 10th or September 10th. So I don't know how partially it's completed, but I think I'm sure it's not enough.
There's a significant change in the landscape, how Red Cliff looks in 1976. What do you remember that's different as you were growing up as a young man? I understand you were a fisherman. I understand you did a lot of different things around the area. What are the changes, the physical changes that you can see now that wasn't here? Maybe the roads, maybe the transportation. What comes to mind?
Now, first comes to mind is, well, the best would be the houses. We had homes that are dilapidated, they're run down, substandard, and well, what they called it, where they were fit to live in, but that's all we had. And most of these houses now were bought by Indians years back, had money from stumpage, we call it. And that's how they built their homes, but now they got so long ago, they have been going since all the eviction programs has been initiated in this tribe. Now we've got best living conditions that anyone could wish for. But the trouble is, we ain't got enough.
So housing is a problem, and it's an ongoing problem.
That's it is. And then I always stretch the point that we ain't got enough land. Now we're getting a lot of we got a housing project coming up, I understand. We got trailers coming in every day, and we have no place. Well, we have place to put them, but for additional places for in the future, 10, 20 years from now, I don't know where we're going to get the land. That's what we're short of money. There's lands available around some of the part of the reservation, but we have no funds to buy them.
Do you think that one of the reasons for the housing shortage is that there's an increase in the birth rate, or are people coming back? What's your idea of why there's a shortage of housing?
Well, yeah, it could be in birth rate too, in one sense. But that, I see now, we have few families now coming from the cities that have made a living down there all these years. Well, not so much the youngest, but the older people that I know, some, they're retired, semi-retired, and so forth, they have no really no. And in the city, they can't make it, that's what they told me. So I think if we have a housing program here, houses that they could use, like old age, elderly people, so forth, I think this is where they can stay the rest of their lives, because I hope we can do that for them.
Yeah, I hope you can too.
Yes.
Because I like to be here too when I get to be an elderly person, to be able to stay on the lake shore and enjoy the benefits of that. We're going to be talking later on to Franklin Basney, who's the fishing committee chairman, in addition to one of the tribal council members. And we're going to be talking about fishing with Franklin. I understand you were a fisherman.
Yeah.
Old-time fisherman. What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. I had a stepfather by the name of Eli de Perry, and he knew what we called ponnets at that time. He worked for a German guy for some years, and he broke him in how to drive ponnets, mend them, drive them, and so forth. Well, as a young man got married, and I didn't know anything. The power drive those days was hand power. You had to pull a rope to pull a hammer, and so forth, to drive your ponnet stick. Well, anyway, I got connected with Eli, my stepfather, and that's how it was around 1924. And I started work with him. And you know, there's Indians, they thought, I don't know how they ever knew, like Eli, what ponnet fishing. I don't know, just a gift of the Indian, I guess, or somehow. So later on, we call them roundheads, everyone knows them are Swedes, Norwegians, and so forth. So that's how we showed them the trade, in other words. And now, well, Indians didn't have the money. They didn't have the money to buy equipment. But now, lately, our younger fishermen, we call now, all got brand new boats there. These old timers used to use their rudder boats out there to get their fun. But this was a good time for fishing, and Indians were a part of it. I know that.
Did people made their living fishing?
Well, some, yeah. What there wasn't the trouble was around before 24, I imagine. There was Indian ponnet fishermen here. I think we had Joe Baker, and we had John Sealer, and we had an old man Buffalo, and Harry Dollars. They're all Indian fishermen.
I remember John.
Yeah, you remember that all them. Yeah. It made a good living, but now, no dice, I guess.
Did they have anything?
It's getting so. I don't know. I guess the way the old time he told me those fish are getting wise, somehow or another.
Did they have anything like the DNR in 1924?
Oh, no, not whoever heard of it. We never heard of that. The DNR, years back, it's like whoever heard of a pollution? I haven't. Ecology, all that stuff. We never knew that. Just like you have diabetes and you had TB and something of that order. You didn't know what you had until you went to see the doctor. But otherwise, I think it's just the same.
When do you first remember the DNR having an effect on the reservations? Was it through hunting, fishing, or some other reason?
Yeah, I think that's what started. Yeah, the time they arrested Dick Gurnoe down here, they wouldn't have a test case. They had, that night before, they set an old net. Next one, they got a sucker in it, I guess, and it was a very big problem at that time. And we all went from here, all downtown. They arrested them, took them to town. But they had that old sucker with them, a sunburn thing. And from there on, I don't know. It wasn't a heck of DNR. And then if you had one of those years ago, the old-time Indians would have shot him and throw him out. Yeah.
But they were like foreign people. I mean, they weren't part of the community. Do you think that, with your understanding of who the DNR, that they can be helpful? Do you think that that Indians need to be regulated by people like the DNR, the state or the county, or do you think that we're quite capable of regulating our own selves?
Well, yeah, DNR, maybe that's all right too. But why not set our rules and rules? Let's forget DNR. If we want an Indian to keep off a certain area of fishing grounds, let's do it. Don't ask us DNR or the state. That's our future fishing. If we want to violate, you're going to lose out on long end. I know it.
I think violate is not the word, Alex, because I don't feel that I violate when it's part of our treaty,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, to go hunting. It's their term. What kinds of equipment did you use back whenever you remember starting to fish?
Well, no, I never went that far back.
Boating, you know.
Just these guys I work for, you know. I never owned a fish outfit, and I was just more of a
What kind of hours?
help. Oh, hours of bed, 6 to 6 as your day, you know. And it was tough. Well, anyway, I lasted 1952. Then I got a job. I was in Norfolk, Virginia for a while in shipyards, and
That's a long way away.
yeah, and then I come back, and then there was much. I fished for Philip LaPointe, and they kind of Pitt, yeah. I fished for him practically all the time. And so it came along, and there was an opening on a tug down in Ashley called a Tug Butterfield. I worked there 9 summers. I took a hauled wrasse, pulpwood wrasse from Canada. And
Yeah, I remember those rounds.
I worked on that for 9 summers, so I had a pretty good job. Then I quit fishing, you know. Just now I'm just doing this. I'm here, I'm there, wherever they want me.
You've been near the water all your life?
Yeah, practically. Yes,
Has it been good to you?
it has. That's very good.
You recommend it?
I would.
How about this lake? Is it a good lake?
Oh, you can't beat it. That is wonderful. It's the best lake there is in the United States, right there. But I had an opportunity one time to start this way, you know. Went around the circle tour they call, you know. I would one end, this end, and they come back this end. But the circle tour they call it Canada. It's all the same lake experience, wonderful lake. But after all, you know, there's a kind of a little history of this little Redcliffe.
Oh, yeah?
And it's so long, and to tell about it, I got a piece in the paper someplace here, and I don't know, I enjoy living here. 1914, 13, 12, I graduated this little school we had up here, they call it St. Francis School. I graduated, so I landed in Carlisle University in 1912.
You were one of those.
Yeah, and
I
had
read about people going out there.
Yeah, and I graduated there 4 years later. And by the way, when I mention that, I always like to talk about old Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
Because I know him well. I used to press his pants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were dressed there as uniforms, you know, had uniforms on. And they were housed, all the athletes were housed in what's called athletic quarters. And mind you, I was new there then, and they signed you to a place like they do here. They signed me in that athletic quarters. Well, there I washed dishes, made beds, pressed their pants. Well, there must have been about 15. They're all different football players and spring athletes, spring years, spring trials, running and so forth. Lacrosse teams, they're all on training bases, see? And that's why I was sent there. That's how I had to know Jim Thorpe. Knew real well, not well enough into the press his pants. That's what I'd done.
That's pretty well.
Yeah, it was good.
What else happened in Carlisle that you remember that stands out?
Oh,
You were there how many years?
19 of 13 or something like that. They had one of the best football teams in the country, Carlisle. And I'm happy to say there, I'm a Chippewa. There was Chippewas on that team.
Really?
Yes, sir.
From where?
Around the neighborhood, Minnesota, us here, Wisconsin, and so forth. They lost to Notre Dame that year. And they played all big teams. They didn't play the Pennsylvania. They played Harvard. I remember well they played Harvard one year. I understand. I wasn't there then. So in those days they had a huddle. There was a huddle. They don't have that no more. You know, just plunge and get as far as you can get. You know. And they made I think it was Thorpe, or not for the name of Bush. I used to hear that. They sewed a little bag of the jersey resembled a kangaroo pouch, you know. And that's where they had that worked out. So they all got on scrimmage line. And then they got them sort of all in the bunch. The quarterback, the center passed to the quarterback and passed the ball under that pouch. So as he made a touchdown, beat Harvard.
I don't think that'll work.
Don't work nowadays.
It work nowadays.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
How did you get out there? Did you request to go out there?
Yeah, you know, those areas that you can ask for if you want a future schooling, see? They're either there or Haskell, and some was in, some at Washington too. See a difference, but Carlisle, I wanted to go, I heard so much about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there with 6 people from here. The superintendent of the Great Lakes Agency, they didn't call it that, they called it the Point Agency. Brought us down there, the superintendent. So we went down there, I was only 3 years, and I'll never forget that one time. I was riding along on a Pullman. I never rode a Pullman in my life.
It's a Pullman. That shows you how old I am.
And there's a top bunk. And that's where they assigned me. So there's some buttons on the side of the wall. And I was wondering what the heck the buttons were for. Maybe for some sort. I pressed one button. Geez, the color guy come and open my curtains. What can I help you, sir? I didn't know that, you know, you want... So anyway, I says, nothing, a glass of water. He brought me a glass of water. So the next morning, he shined my shoes. I had kind of battered old shoes, you know, I didn't shine them up. So I got downstairs next morning from that top bunk to get on that lower bunk, to get off. And my shoes all shined up. You must shine them up during the night, that porter. That's one experience I never had.
La Pointe Agency, you call it. When did they change that from Great
Geez,
Lakes?
I've been like that long. Oh.
How old were you?
They said La Pointe Agency, that should happen around 37 after. What, 36, 37.
Was that during the IRA time?
Yeah.
Same time.
See, we had a superintendent come from, his name was Cabell. He come from Minnesota, band, Red Lake. So we got transferred here. So we got I don't know how you change it to Great Lakes. See, the other reservation got in this jurisdiction. That's how they got it now. So there's now 10 bands, see, under private council. That's how they changed it. Great Lakes. Yeah.
They used to probably be stationed at La Pointe.
Yeah. You know, one time there was Great Lakes, Point Agency, they call it, in Bayfield there, one time. That's what that agency, that's how, his name was Dady, G.W. Dady. Then after he left, we followed by the name of Sutton. Sutton, he was a chief clerk, but he got to be agent. He must have bought this land here, see, this is where we are now.
Oh, yeah?
He must have bought that time. So we wanted a community hall, which is over there that time, but we didn't have no land to build one. So Mr. Sutton went and asked us, so he sold his piece of land 100 by 150 feet. It's right over here. So he always...
Right adjacent to where we're sitting right now.
Right there, yeah. That's how we built a community hall. So in order to acquire, we didn't have no money. My CC kids were working on the job here. So we took $4 a month from their check every payday. That's how we got $150 for this piece of land. So when he died, he sold all the land outright to us, this here lake area. That's how we got it.
Well, I'm glad you did get it.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to the community. Well, I guess we could sit here.
Well, I can sit here all day.
Months and months and months and not tire of your stories. And I think it's real important information to be shared with not only with me and the person behind the camera, but the people who's going to be looking into the videotape and years to come to be looking and hearing you talk about the days that I can't remember, but that will be shared and are important for us to be in the future.
That's the point I'm trying to drive that into. You know, these young kids, I call them kids anyway, some are older, but when a decision is made here at a tribal meeting, well, the next day, some important subjects brought up, like, you ain't supposed to do that, you ain't supposed to have this land. Then the next morning you hear all the comments. But there where it should be said, nothing said. That's one of the things that I don't care for. I never did like it. When we were members, as old fellas, I call them old fellas, I was the youngest at the band at that time, the bunch I was served with. We made a decision, we stuck to it. And most times it was favorable, but here, this one, how do you vote? No, I can't see that. Maybe it's like like some old proverb says sometimes, maybe I'm too old to learn, maybe I'm too young to learn, something like that. But they tend there, I think.
What do you suggest to get more people involved in a community or in a meeting situation so that everything is discussed at the meeting?
Yeah, that's what I like to see. But who? You just a story about when we had our first meeting about the Indians' claims business, how much we should get. Well, downstairs only 4 that first time. Well, right away they made it, someone would pay 80%, 60%. You know what I mean? Payments. Well, that's all showed up. Well, it was reversed of the one in July down here. Remember the one we had down there?
Yeah.
Things turned all over. The shit was turned.
Well, any advice you have in the future on trying to get people involved, I think is really important, and maybe we can talk some more with you later.
Good.
Maybe we can go inside now and look around.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Thank you much,
appreciate very
Alex.
much.
I appreciate listening to you.
Yeah.
We're sitting out here in the beautiful sunshine at Red Cliff Reservation, sitting at the doorstep to the new Arts and Crafts building. Talking with us today is going to be Alex Roy, one of the elders of the Red Cliff Indian Reservation. Its growth and the future.
This is the Arts and Crafts building belonging to the Red Cliff Band of the Chippewa Indians. It was really had in mind in the year of 1973, then up to dedicated on June 30th of 1975. And the building is a big asset to the tribe, where we can have our culture, the tribe's culture, be shown to the public. And it's one of the finest buildings of this area. It helps to show our cultures in beadwork and other stuff that's the Indian has known in years before.
The painting on the wall by Betsy Fredenberg is a painting that she did upon looking around her home. It's called Forget Me Not, and it's a reflection of how she feels about the structure that's outside of her home. It's an old structure sitting aside Lake Superior, and she gets a lot of inspiration from it. The painting means a great deal to her beyond the visual interpretation she made. It talks about the lake shore, it talks about the pine trees, and it talks about the old structures and the old people who lived along the lake shore. She's tried to capture a little bit of history, a little bit of sentimentality, and a little bit of the visual. Things with us that have historical significance relating to the art center in it.
And yearly, that's 2 years ago, it's on a self-sustaining basis, and it's a tribute to the people of Red Cliff. And we are, and we like to have the buildings open on a 7-day week. And we urge all our visitors from other states to come and visit. It's free, and all our, everything that goes with it, it's different questions you can ask. And we expect it will be we're maintaining, we're going to try that we're going to maintain it a year-round proposition. And
today, the last sunshine of summer is starting to come upon us. Autumn is arriving, the leaves are turning. We're sitting at Red Cliff Indian Reservation talking with Mr. Alex Roy. We're sitting at the entrance to the new Arts and Crafts building, dedicated in June of 1975. But before we go inside, we'd like Mr. Roy to talk with us about the history of Red Cliff in general, the building, whatever he remembers, just to talk in the warm sunshine here. Mr. Alex Roy.
I'm happy to talk with one of the young fry of our reservation, Walt Brissett. And as we sit here, we're looking over towards the lake. There's a rock there standing alongside the lake shore. At one time, it was the foundation for the Red Cliff sawmill. The Red Cliff sawmill to